alongside Riverton High School for a High School Rewind Game of the Week. I am Dusty Lister. Thanks for joining us. Our matchup, the Lone Peak Knights and the Riverton Silverwolves. Welcome, everybody. So glad to have you along with us. Got an outstanding game for you tonight. Both teams have a lot to play for. This is going to be a lot of fun. Let's start first with the Lone Peak Knights. Lone Peak lost earlier this week to Pleasant Grove. Is the first multi-loss season within the state of Utah for Lone Peak since the 2009-2010 season. And a lot of things for them to bounce back with. With that loss, is their second loss in region as they lost to Pleasant Grove. They got to win tonight to clinch the #1 seed. If they lose tonight, the American Fork wins, then we have a tie at the top of the region. It'll go into some tiebreakers, and we'll get things figured out. For Riverton, if they win and Harriman loses tonight against American Fork, then Riverton is in the state tournament. If they lose and Harriman loses, then there'll be a play-in game tomorrow, and we'll hopefully have that for you here in High School Rewind as well. So a lot on the line for both these teams. This should be an absolute blast. Couple names for you to keep it in front of your mind. Number one, Frank Jackson, averaging 27 points a game for Lone Peak, the best player in the state of Utah, possibly in the western United States. And then take a look at Riverton. Jaron Jones is averaging 16 points a game. He's going to have to play very well tonight, and then other players have to step up around him as well. We know our teams, what's on the line, and when we come back, it'll be opening tip-off. You are watching High School Rewind only on Xfinity On Demand. And we're ready for the opening tip-off. Frank Jackson and Jaron Jones. Jackson wins the tip. And we'll start with the Lone Peak Knights. Jackson to Nick Curtis. Doman down the corner. Heaton, Doman now back to Frank Jackson. On the angle with Doman. Up top, Christian Papula. Papula drive the lane. Will float it up, leave it short, gets his own board, and then leaves it to Heaton, and Heaton will lay it up and in, and Lone Peak on the board first. So down the floor with the Riverton Silverwolves. Here's Joey Andrews straight away now with Jeff Ahrens. Ahrens over to Rodriguez. And now Rigby. Ahrens along the baseline to Rodriguez. And the jumper is up and good for Joey Andrews. Here's Christian Papula. Papula out to Heaton. Up top, Doman now over to Curtis. Papula will pull for three, and that's off the mark, and rebound taken by Jaron Jones. Ahead to Jeff Ahrens. Jones now straight up with Stetson Rigby. Riverton has a coaching change, Coach Steve Galley, who did such a terrific job at Riverton, number of state championship appearances. Retired at the end of last season during the summer. There's a three on the way from Rigby, no. Jones tracks down the rebound in the corner. But retired, wanted to spend more time, wanted to have a new phase of life, and he's been replaced by Skylar Wilson. Skylar Wilson, a former CEU Golden Eagle. Three on the way off the mark. And the rebound, Christian Papula quickly ahead to Doman. Doman finds Curtis, and Curtis jackknifes it up and in. And it's 4-2 in favor of Lone Peak. Andrews terminates, stolen by Papula. Papula on the push. And they're going to get him with a carry. Thought about getting that pass off to Jackson, held on. It'll be turnover, and we'll go back to Riverton. 5:45 on a rolling clock in the first quarter. 4-2 the lead for the Lone Peak Knights. In the front court with Ahrens. On the angle now with Andrews. Back to Ahrens on the opposite side, looking into Rodriguez. Ahrens outside Andrews, into the corner. Jumper along the baseline is up and good. That's Jeff Ahrens, pardon me. And Jeff Ahrens with his first bucket of the ballgame. Pardon me, number 10, Stetson Rigby. Papula cross court to Curtis. Curtis will pull for three, and that lips out. And the rebound to Jeff Ahrens. Ahrens quickly ahead to Andrews. Andrews rotates to the top, hands back to Rigby, and Rigby will reset. Riverton 5-6 in region play coming into this ballgame. Region 4 has been an absolute murderer's row this season. And it's tough when you have other regions aren't as strong. They'll put teams into the state tournament to have a couple teams from Region 4 that would probably win the championship in other regions. Offensive rebound out to Andrews, and Andrews knocks down the three. Joey Andrews from downtown. He's got 5 points in the quarter. 7-4 in favor of the Silverwolves. Frank Jackson straightaway three. And Frank Jackson, we had mentioned, averaging 27 points a game. Easily the best player in the state of Utah. Bright future ahead of Frank Jackson, only a junior. On the angle, the three on the way from Aarons, off the mark, and a rebound to Doman. That was Jackson's 67th three of the year. Papula hands back to Curtis, now in the hands of Jackson. Jackson also supplied the two best highlights we've had of the year as well. And there's a foul on Aarons. Doman to trigger the inbound, gets it into Curtis. Curtis in the lane, up and under. And Curtis now with 4 points. And Lone Peak reclaims the lead, 9-7. Andrews terminates, gets up top to Rigby. Rigby over to Anderson. Anderson now, here's Jaron Jones, been quiet in the early going. Jones kicks up top Rigby. Rotate over into the corner to Anderson. Anderson in the lane, kicks out to Rigby. Riverton being patient. And will reset the offense. Rigby in the lane. Terminates now, drop it inside. Rodriguez leaves it short. And a rebound to Papula. Papula on the push. Give it up to Doman. Doman in to Jones, and they get him with a charge. That'll be the second team foul on the Knights, first on Doman. Aarons comes back on the floor, and Rodriguez will take a seat. 3:05 on a rolling clock in the first quarter. Here's Rigby. On the angle now of Andrews. Andrews inside the Jones, and Jaron Jones can't finish. Gets his own board, goes back up and scores. First points for Jaron Jones, 2:45 remaining in the first quarter. Three on the way from Jackson, too strong. On the push now with Rigby off the air ball. Give it up to Anderson. Anderson puts it up, can't get it to go, and a rebound to Papula. Papula on the push. Papula down the lane, stripped away, and he'll get a foul on Rigby. It'll be two free throws coming away at Papula. First free throw good from Papula. The second good as well. 2:25 remaining in the first quarter, an 11-9 lead for Lone Peak. Off the screen is Marsh. Up top with Aarons. Aarons now on the angle with Rigby. Now Anderson. Anderson reverses out. Marsh. Here's Jeff Aarons. Aarons has 51 threes on the season for the Silverwolves as Jaron Jones pulls from the free throw line, and Jaron Jones with 4 points in the quarter, now 1:50 remaining in the first. All knotted up at 11. Jackson on the angle of Papula. Papula running one-hander, can't get it to go. That'll be a foul, I believe, on Jones, and that'll be his first, team second. The foul is charged to Rigby, his second. Talmadge Gunther comes on as Papula calmly knocks down the free throws. On the push, Marsh terminates. Papula with him. Falling away, and they're going to get a foul on Christian Papula. He'll inbound along the baseline. Marsh to trigger in. On the angle now with Marsh. Aarons now on the angle with Anderson. Anderson working on Heat and loses the handle. Ball on the ground. Gunther goes down and gets it, still loose and picked up by Anderson. He gets in the hands of Jaron Jones. 1:15 remaining in the quarter. Marsh into the corner. Here's Aarons. Aarons up to Marsh. Hanging, gives it to Jones. Curtis with him. Jones put on the floor, hard to the hole, the left hand, and it goes in. Slow start for Jones. Got 6 points in the quarter, down to 50 seconds as Frank Jackson hits the runner. And it's 15-13 Lone Peak. 46 seconds remaining in the first, an entertaining first quarter. And the Silverwolves will hold for the final shot down to 40 seconds. Jacobson, Aarons, cross court to Jones, 28 seconds. Jones working on Heaton. Jones put the shot up, and he's fouled by Papula. Count the bucket, and Jaron Jones will go to the line. Jones hit the free throw, second personal foul, Papula. Jones with 9 points in the first quarter. Here's Jackson with 15 seconds. Here's Talmadge Gunther. Gunther up top, Jackson with 10, now down to 9. Jackson with 5, off the screen for 3. Frank Jackson knocks down the triple with 2 seconds left, and that'll be the final bucket of the quarter. And at the end of one quarter, it's Lone Peak 18 and Riverton 16. Start of the second quarter, and we'll start with Riverton. Strong first quarter from the Silverwolves. Jaron Jones with 9 points in the quarter. Here's Rodriguez, hands back to Aarons for 3, and Jeff Aarons knocks down the 3 ball. And Riverton reclaims the lead, 19-18. Papula along the baseline, kicks out Gunther. Gunther will pull for 3, off the mark, rebound Papula, gets the bump and bucket. Nice job of staying active, getting the bucket, and I'll go against Denver Nagel. Papula hit the +1 free throw, and it's 21-19 Lone Peak. And he takes his seat. Bruni comes on the floor. Up top with Anderson. Andrews now on the angle with Aarons. Anderson back to Aarons. Aarons again for 3. And Aarons knocks down another. Back-to-back possessions. Aarons from downtown. And Riverton leads 22-21. Here's Dolman in the corner to Curtis. Curtis will pull for 3. Hits the deck, no call. Gunther with the board. Up top of Frank Jackson. Jackson pump fake. With the flyby is fouled. And the foul will go on Aarons, and Jackson will shoot 3 free throws. Out of the timeout. Here's Anderson. Now cross court, Aarons on the baseline, and Aarons takes it hard to the hole and finishes. Aarons now with 10 points. And 3 for Frank Jackson. Got 6 points in the quarter. Jackson mentioned averages 27 a game. In the corner, Rodriguez dribbles up top. And now reset the offense with Rigby. High post to Nagel. Kicks out. Aarons into the corner. Rigby for 3, and that's too strong. Bruni with the board, gets it off to Jackson. Jackson on the push, down the lane, hard to the hole, can't finish. Bruni goes up for the board, can't get it. We got a foul on the floor on the rebound against Riverton. The foul's on Bruni. That's the 15th foul on Lone Peak in the half. 5 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in the first half. 27-24, Lone Peak. Rigby, high post Nagel. Terminate trying to get into Jones, stopped away by Curtis. Tracks it down, gets it up top to Rigby. Now Anderson. Anderson working on Dolman, out to Nagel, hands Rigby, now in the corner to Andrews. And Andrews fouled by Gunther. That's the 16th foul, and be +1 free throws on the next foul. Being the bonus on the next foul. Rigby just gets it into Jones. 5:15 remaining in the half. Rigby along the baseline to Jaron Jones, out to Anderson, nearly stolen by Dolman. Steps inside the free throw line, and Anderson buries the jumper. And they got a charge on Curtis. 17th foul on Lone Peak. Back down the floor with Riverton. First personal foul on Nick Curtis. High post Anderson. Drop it into Jones. Jones, series of moves, fall away, crawls off, and a rebound in the hands of Dolman. Gunther. A little bit of a, well, they get a foul on Riverton. 16 fouls apiece. Dolman Oh, nice find inside. Gunther swatted away. Great job by Andrews of getting back and making the block. 4.5 remaining in the half. Rigby. Now Andrews. Aaron set to check in, has a hot hand. Jones hanging on the angle. Kicks it in the corner to Rigby. Now Andrews down the lane, around Curtis. Off the glass, and it crawls in. 7 points in the half for Andrews. 28-27 Riverton. Frank Jackson down the floor. 4 minutes remaining in the first half. Jackson works off the screen of Curtis. Has that ball slapped away. On the push, Rigby trying to get too fancy with that pass. It'll be a turnover. Go back to Lone Peak. That was the same play dunked on against American Fort. 3:50 remaining in the half. Frank Jackson gets his first break of the ball game. Curtis now on the angle with Doman. Doman has the ball slapped out of his hands. And we'll stay here with Lone Peak. Tyson Doman, the trigger. Gets it into Heaton in the corner. Up top, Papula. Papula pull up Jay, crawls off of the rebound, taken by Nagel. On the push, Rigby ahead to Aarons. Aarons on the angle now to Jones. Up top with Rigby. 3:15 rolling here in the second quarter. Andrews gives it up to Aarons. Straight away, Rigby back to Aarons. Sought about three, couldn't get the shot off. Here's Rigby. Aarons now to Jones. Had a foul away from the ball. 1-1 free throws, cut away Riverton. Nagel hit the first. And hits the second. Papula narrowly brought that ball across. 2:55 remaining in the first half. 30-27 the lead for Riverton. Here's Curtis, drop it inside to Frank Jackson. Double comes, Jackson loses the handle, knocks out of bounds, and we'll go back to Riverton. Riverton faithful starting to believe a little bit after that turnover from Frank Jackson. 2 minutes and 35 seconds remaining in the first half. Up top with Rigby. Here's Aarons. Hit a couple threes early in the quarter. Is that one bucket since. That ball slapped away, but in the hands of Andrews. Andrews working on Doman, kicks up top. Cross court, Aarons for three. And Jeff Aarons from downtown, his third three. Six-point lead for Riverton, their largest of the ball game. Frank Jackson working on Nagel. Jackson crossover, step back, try to go into a three, loses the handle, gets it back. Jackson now fouled. It'll be 1-1 free throws. Jackson hit the first. And the second. 5 for 5 from the free throw line was Jackson in the quarter. 1:50 remaining in the half. Here's Jones. Jones swatted away by Heaton in the hands of Papula. Papula on the push. He's got Jackson on the right. Papula hard to the hole, terminates. And now a charge. That is such a hard call. How you call a charge when he comes stomped in the lane. Either way, Riverton ball. I'm not being overly critical, and we're in the middle. I just want a good ball game, but I don't know in what world that's a charge, where Papula literally comes stop to avoid contact, and he gets called for a charge. That's really difficult, but in the hands of Riverton, see if they can capitalize. Slapped away by Heaton, back in the hands of Rigby. Aarons for three. And number 4 was a little too long. Papula with the board on the push. Papula down the lane, and now Papula will shoot free throws. That'll be foul beyond the floor. Papula hit both free throws, now takes a seat. Talmadge Gunther comes on the floor. 1:14 remaining in the first half. Down the floor with Rigby. Frank Jackson with him. And Jackson called for a foul. And it'll be 1-1 free throws for Riverton. Rigby hits both free throws. That's a first personal foul on Frank Jackson. Big key tonight is going to be Jackson staying out of foul trouble, so the final minute will be big, as we've seen some charge calls in this first half. He's got to be smart. Jackson hanging near side. Jeff Aaron's out there with him. Into the corner to Gunther. Gunther dribbles, hands back to Curtis. Curtis pirouette, heart of the hole, and Curtis, beautiful move. Not very often we see him put it on the floor. Well done by Nick Curtis in navigating the waters and getting to the bucket. 35 seconds remaining in the half. 35-33. Andrews up top, Anderson, now over to Rigby. Inside Andrews. Nice move, left hand too strong, and a chance for Lone Peak to tie or take the lead. 20 seconds remaining in the half. Frank Jackson working on Anderson. Step back three. In and out, rebound taken by Gunther. Gets it out to Doman as he hits the floor. 10 seconds now remaining, and Doman takes a timeout, 9.5 on the clock. 9.5 remaining in the half, Gunther to trigger. Gets it into Curtis. Hanging Curtis with 5 seconds to the hole. Leaves it too strong, rebound still loose. And then as a Rigby, this will count if it goes. And at the end of the half, it's the Riverton Silverwolves leading Lone Peak 35-33. High School Rewind is excited to have Nudge as our Player of the Game sponsor. Nudge is one of the fastest growing companies in Utah Valley. With over 500 employees, Nudge is one of the largest contributors of volunteer community outreach programs. To learn more about Nudge and their program, visit www.nudge.com. Start of the third quarter, and we'll start with the Lone Peak Knights, trailing by 2 at the end of the first half. Drop it in to Jackson. Jackson cross court to Doman for 3. Tyson Doman from downtown, his first points of the ball game. And it's Lone Peak taking a lead back, 36-35. Nice final on the baseline. Rodriguez, too high off the glass, can't get it to go. Papula with the board. Papula widens near side, will pull up inside the free throw or three-point line. And Papula from long range hits his second field goal of the ball game. Papula with 7 made free throws. That's his second two-point bucket. 38-35 Lone Peak. Here's Rodriguez. Drop it inside to Jones, loses the handle. Papula picks up the loose ball. The head with Frank Jackson. In the corner, Doman, pump fake. Up top to Heaton. And then a charge on Doman on the pass. Going the other way. So after the charge against Doman, his second personal foul, the first foul for the Lone Peak in the second half. 6:40 remaining in the third. Rigby hits Aarons. Aarons outside to Andrews, cross court to Jones. Along the baseline, Jaron Jones floated up and score it. Did not score in the second quarter, pardon me. Jones had 9 in the first quarter, and there's his first bucket since. Jackson for 3, leaves it short. Aaron's with the board. Aaron's ahead to Rigby. Now Jones. Jones on the baseline, floated up, no, and they got him with a charge. Block charge is the hardest call. It's even harder in high school basketball. We'll go the other way. 38-37 Lone Peak. That is the first foul on Jaron Jones. Papula drop it inside to Curtis. Hands back, Frank Jackson. Jackson off the screen, pulls for 3, leaves it short. Rebound, Curtis goes back up and is fouled. See if that goes on Aarons or if it goes on Rodriguez. It'll be 2 free throws for Curtis. His both free throws, split the pair. 39-37. On the angle with Andrews, drop it into Jones. Jones, pirouette, Heaton loses his footing, and there to get Jones with the charge. It's a tough call against Jaron Jones. We'll go the other way. The first charge was a little iffy. That was almost as bad as Papula's charge in the first half, as far as there wasn't much there. It didn't really gain an advantage. Remember, Papula came to a jump stop in the lane. But either way, second personal foul on Jones. 13th foul on the Silverwolves. Papula on the baseline. Curtis jumper comes off, and the rebound to Jones in the hands of Rigby. Rigby give it up. Andrews hard to the hole, and Andrews lays it up and in. And on the steal, Aarons at Papula, around Papula, and lays it up and in. Just like that, 41-39, Riverton. 4:35 remaining in the third quarter. Jackson, pull up at the junction, and a lips off, and a rebound in the hands of Jeff Aarons. Off night for Frank Jackson. Give it up, Andrews up top with Rodriguez. Cross court to Rigby. Rigby working on Jackson. Give it up to Aarons. Now Jones. Jones in the lane. Rodriguez straight away with Andrews. And Andrews hits his second three of the ball game. His first assist the first quarter. (44-39) cross court Jackson. Three on the way. Aarons with the board. Aarons ahead. Past Doman, and they get Doman with the foul. That'll be the second team foul on the Knights. The trigger in. Gets it into Anderson. Anderson floated up and score it. 7-point lead, the largest lead of the night for Riverton. Papula follow away Jay. And Christian Papula stops the bleeding. Quickly ahead, Anderson swatted away by Papula in the hands of Gunther. Here's Frank Jackson. Jackson down the lane, hard to the hole. And they're going to get a foul on Jones. That'll be his third. Big foul for Riverton. 2 free throws coming away of Frank Jackson. Jackson hits the first free throw. And the second. Unofficially 18 points on the night for Frank Jackson. 46-43, dropping along baseline to Jones, and Jones to the hole and lays it up and in. Jones now unofficially with 13 points. 48-43. Here Papula. Nice crossover move along the baseline, kick it up top, and recircled to Papula. The fall away won't go, but he's fouled, and Papula will go to the line to shoot 2 free throws. Papula hit the first and rolls home the second. Good night from the line for Christian Papula. 48-45. 2 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in the third quarter. Rigby. Now to Jones. Jones hard to the hole on Curtis, and we get Curtis with the body. And free throws coming away of Jaron Jones. Jones hit both free throws. 50-45, Papula gets it in. Jones hits the deck, goes to the bench. Creighton Marsh comes on for Jones. They don't want to pick up that fourth foul in the last 2.5 minutes. Doman, cross to Jackson. Jackson, pull up Jay, lips out. Bruni with the board, goes up and puts it away. Good job by Bruni coming off the bench, making a play. 3-point ball game, 50-47. 2 minutes remaining in the third quarter. Here's Marsh. And a ball stolen by Curtis. Nagel giving chase. Curtis. And one! Nice finish by Nick Curtis. Got the steal. Got the bump and bucket. He'll go to the line looking to tie us up at 50. Looking to finish the outstanding 3-point play. And a lips off. 50-49, 1:50 remaining in the third. Down the floor with Marsh. Now down to minute 45. Here's Rigby. Now Anderson in the corner. Anderson cross court to Rigby. Here's Marsh. Anderson tracks it down. Rigby looks in. Frank Jackson with him. Minute 20 remaining. Aaron's set to check in on the next dead ball. Marsh into the corner, Nagel. Long possession from the Silverwolves. Minute 10 now on the clock. Andrews, he did stay on his feet. Fans want to call him, nothing there. Here's Nagel, nice give and go. Rigby, reverse it and score it. Beautiful find and outstanding finish by Rigby. And Papula is fouled. He'll go to the line to shoot 2. Papula hit the first. And rolls in the second. Riverton holding for one shot, 50 seconds remaining in the third. Marsh. Now to Andrews, Papula with him. Kicks out, 3 on the way from Anderson. Back rim, rebound, Papula. Chance for Lone Peak to take the lead. Papula reverses out, now will drive the lane. Floater off the window, and Christian Papula gives Lone Peak the lead. 25 seconds on the clock. Marsh into the front court. Now down to 20. Here's Andrews. He'll back out, look to set things up. 15 seconds remaining in the third quarter. Anderson. Give it up to Marsh. Here's Aaron's, 3 seconds. 2 seconds, got to get it off. They'll count if it goes. And a rims out. And at the end of 3, Lone Peak 53, Riverton 52. Start of the fourth quarter. Lone Peak erased a 7-point deficit and leads 53-52. Anderson kicks up top to Aarons. Aarons give up Andrews. Papula with Andrews, and we get Papula with his hand on him, and it'll be the 14th foul on Lone Peak. After the foul, that's the 4th personal on Papula. Dolman with the steal going the other way. Dolman by Marsh to the glass, and it rolls in. Tyson Dolman now with 5 points. And it's a 3-point lead for Lone Peak. Anderson. Give it up to Andrews. Into the corner, Aarons. They've done a nice job, and Dolman with the steal. The jump ball, the possession arrow belongs to Lone Peak. And Coach Wilson takes a timeout. 7:15 remaining in the fourth. Out of the timeout, 7:10 remaining in the fourth. Here's Jackson. R to the hole, off the window, crawls off. And they're going to get Heaton with the foul. And that will be, no, pardon me, that's on Frank Jackson. It'll be 1-1 free throws. Apologize, looked to the wrong side. That's a 15 foul on Lone Peak. Second on Frank Jackson. Hand off Andrews. Jackson with him. Andrews kicks out to Rigby along the baseline. He terminates, gets out to Jones, slapped out of bounds by Jackson. Will stay here. Here's Rigby, 6:40 now on the clock. Andrews off the runner, couldn't hang on to it. On the floor, and we got a jump ball, and possession arrow belongs to Riverton. Got it into Jones, and Jones draws a foul and will go to the line. Or they call it on the floor. Call on the floor. 4th personal foul on Tyson Dolman. 16 foul on Lone Peak. Rigby just gets it in. Aaron steps inside the 3-point arc, and Jeff Aarons knocks down the jumper. Aarons now with 18. Frank Jackson into the corner. Talmadge Gunther for 3. Off the mark, and a rebound taken by Jaron Jones in the hands of Rigby. On the push. Rigby gives it up to Aarons into the corner. Andrews back to Aarons. He had room, didn't get it off. Now Andrews wide open for 3. And Andrews from downtown. His 3rd of the ball game. And Riverton reclaims the lead, 57-55. Frank Jackson in the front court, 5:50 remaining in the fourth quarter. Jackson splits him to the hole. Leaves it short of the rebound to Jaron Jones. Riverton can extend their lead. Rigby into the corner. Aarons for three. Jeff Aarons from downtown. Streaky shooter. And Jeff Aarons gives Riverton a 5-point lead, 60-55. Dolman can't finish. Curtis with the board and put back. Nice draw by Curtis, 60-57. Rigby brings it back down the floor. Will reverse out, 5:10 on the clock. Andrews and Aarons knocking down threes. Here's Aarons. Dolman with him. Up top, Rigby. Back to Aarons. Aarons dropping into Jones. Curtis there, and they get him with a charge. Sitting and waiting on it. That's number 4 on Jones. That is a tough call against Jones. That's the 8th team foul on Riverton. The 4th personal foul on Jaron Jones. But Curtis was sitting waiting for him. Drop it inside to Curtis. Gets up, takes a bump, and finishes. 60-59. Rigby. 4.5 remaining in the 4th quarter. Here's Andrews. Now Aarons. Aarons. I'm not sure what the call was. Oh, the foul's on Dolman. I apologize. I thought they were calling on Riverton. 1-on-1 free throws coming away, and that's number 5 on Dolman. Aarons at the line. Hit the front end of 1-on-1. The UVU baseball commit hits the second. Go play for Coach Eric Madsen and the Wolverines. 62-59 to lead for Riverton. 4:15 on a rolling clock. Papula down the floor. Give it up, Frank Jackson. Aarons out with him. Oh, Curtis loses the handle. Going the other way with Andrews. Papula's there. Andrews leaves it short. Put back by Nagel. No. Rebound Gunther out of bounds off of Aarons. Missed opportunities, 2 of them for Riverton. Down the floor. Put that last play in your back pocket. Remember that in this game. Jackson for 3. Can't get it to go. Papula with the board. Gets it out to Jackson. Now Papula. He reverses back. Papula again, the sophomore down the lane. Left hand. And a block and 1. Get the bump and bucket. The Riverton crowd about ready to explode. And Papula go to the line looking for the 3-point play. After much discussion, they give Papula the +1. No argument whether or not he was on the floor. Papula hits it, ties us up at 62. 3:25 remaining in the 4th quarter. Here's Jones. Remember, he's got 4 fouls. Kicks up top to Andrews. Andrews drives the lane, get up to Jones. And Jones nothing too strong. Gets his own board and scores. 17 points on the night for Jaron Jones. 3:05 remaining in the 4th quarter and a 2-point lead for Riverton. Curtis straight away with Papula. Papula, pull up Jay. And Christian Papula having himself a ball game. Most of his damage has come from the free throw line, but he's starting to pepper in some field goals. Down the floor, Rigby knotted up at 64. Here's Aarons. Outside Andrews. Thought about 3, steps inside. Gunther knocks it away. Papula going after it. Andrews saves it in, or saves it back to Curtis. Coach Wilson wanted a timeout. They didn't give it to him. He's arguing as they're hanging around the midcourt. Inside of 2 minutes and 20 seconds, now down to 2:15. Frank Jackson in the corner. Papula for 3. Off the mark, and the ball in the hands of Andrews. 2:05 remaining in the 4th quarter. Riverton can control their own destiny with the win. Lone Peak needs a win for the number 1 seed. On the baseline to Jones. Remember, he's got 4 fouls. He's got to be smart. Andrews into the corner. Aarons. Aarons to Rigby. Now on the baseline to Andrews. 1:45 on the clock, working on Curtis. Kicks up top to Jones. Jones working on Heaton. Turnaround floater, no. And Jackson with the board on the push. 1:35 remaining in the 4th quarter. And Jackson reverses out. 1.5 remaining. Lone Peak can eat up clock. Remember, no shot clock in high school basketball. They can take this all the way down to the final shot if they wanted to. 1:20 remaining in the fourth quarter. Papula gives it up to Frank Jackson. It was Riverton up by 7 points in the third quarter. That was quickly erased and became a Lone Peak lead. Coach Wilson is telling Riverton to sit back, let him run the clock down. 1:05 now on the clock. Never seen Lone Peak do this. Seen it done against them, never seen them do it. 1 minute now. Down to 55. Talmadge Gunther will hand off Frank Jackson. Now Gunther. Gunther up top, Papula. A lot of times when this happens, we're going to take a timeout, probably around 15 seconds, maybe 20 seconds. These are long sets, and very rarely you get the offensive play you wanted. Curtis hands back to Jackson. Now back to Curtis. Down to 30 seconds. Can expect the timeout around 20, maybe 15 seconds, down to 25. Now 20. No timeout from Coach Lewis. Gunther drives the lane out to Heaton. Heaton get up Papula. Papula has been the best offensive option tonight. And now they're lost with 10 seconds. Papula floated up. Back rim, no. Tipped out. Rebound to Gunther. No. This will count. No. Rebound to Jones in 2 seconds. Coach Wilson was calling timeout. They're going to have to put the time on the clock. He was calling timeout for a good second and a half, and they're not going to give it to him. He was calling timeout with 2 seconds, and nobody gave it to him. Right now we're tied at 64. We'll see if they give him any time. Right now we're heading to overtime. They did not put any time on the clock. We're heading to overtime. Jones wins a tip back to Rigby. An up and down affair. Frank Jackson's had a hard time offensively. His shot has just been off tonight. Remember, Riverton wins and Harriman loses. Riverton's in the state tournament. Lone Peak would be tied if American Fork wins tonight. They'd be tied for the number 1 seed. Up top with Rigby. 3.5 remaining now. 30 seconds into the quarter. Rigby terminates, kicks up top to Jones. Remember, Riverton can hang on to this and take the only shot in overtime. It has happened before, and with the state tournament just a few days away, we're used to these type of things and expect it. 3:10 on the clock. Aarons kicks it back to Rigby. On the angle now with Andrews, and back to Rigby. And now 3 minutes remaining in overtime. Andrews, pirouette in the lane, terminates, kicks up top to Rigby. Back to Andrews. 2:50 now on the clock. Andrews along the baseline. Gets it to Jones. Jones gets slapped from behind by Talmadge Gunther. It's on the floor, and it'll be +1 free throws. Jones hit the front end. Hits them both. 66-64, 2:45 remaining. Into the front court with Frank Jackson. Jackson off the screen to Curtis in the corner. Papula for 3. Off the mark and a rebound taken by Andrews. 2.5 remaining in overtime. Andrews working on Papula. Floated up and score it. Nice take and finish by Andrews. 4-point lead for Riverton. 2:15 remaining. Frank Jackson over to Talmadge Gunther. Back to Jackson. 4-3. Frank Jackson from downtown. 68-67, 2 minutes remaining. Up top with Andrews. Now Aarons. Inside Anderson. Anderson fall away. Back rim and crawls in. 6 points on the night. None bigger than that bucket from Anderson. 1:40 on the clock. Frank Jackson walks into the front court. Anderson waiting for him. Jackson off the screen to Curtis. Looking for the tie. Off the mark. Rebound to Gunther. Gunther has a Jackson again. No good on the rebound taken by Jones. That kind of night from Frank Jackson just will not fall. Riverton is going to hold out and force fouls you can guarantee it with 1:15 remaining in the fourth. They're going to force Lone Peak to foul him and shoot free throws. Outside to Aarons, up top to Rigby. They're not going to, whoa, Aarons for three. Off the mark and a rebound, taken by Jones. He gambled and Jones got it. And lucky there wasn't a travel. Timeout taken by Wilson. 59.4 seconds remaining in overtime, 70-67, Riverton. 59.4 remaining. Inbound into Jones. Remember, Riverton does not have to put the ball in the air. Rigby. Cross court, Aarons. He gambled with that three, and belt out by Jones's rebound. 45 seconds on the clock. And it's stolen by Curtis. Lone Peak trapped him at midcourt. And now a chance to tie. 70-67. You must guarantee yourself that Frank Jackson's going to get another look at a three. High school basketball, it's hard to even Campbell going for two, though you're planning on a miss. Jackson for the tie. Short. Rebound loose. And taken by Gunther. Gunther calling timeout and it's granted. 20.2 remaining. Lone Peak ball. Gunther to trigger. Gets it into Curtis, and Curtis gets it to go. Timeout, Coach Lewis. 17.2 remaining in overtime. 70-69. 17.2 seconds remaining in overtime. And Lone Peak's got to guard the inbound and then possibly force a turnover. There's a run out to Anderson. Papula with him. Papula gets the stand. Called a foul on Papula. That is a tough call to go against Christian Papula. That's number 5. It'll be that'll be 1-on-1 free throws for Anderson. Front end a 1-on-1. Anderson got it. And gets the second. Got to hit a three. 15 seconds remaining. Jackson. And we got a timeout from Coach Wilson. There's 15 seconds on the clock. And it was Lone Peak ball. We got a lot of things happening. It'll be Lone Peak ball. They should have 15 seconds back on the clock. 15 seconds remaining. Got time put back on the clock. The ball will be in the hands of Frank Jackson, trailing by 3. Jackson racing into the front court. Jackson to the hole and lays it up and in. We got just under 10 seconds. 9.3 shown on the clock. Timeout, Lone Peak. Out of the timeout, again, 9.3 remaining. Got to watch for the run out. Jaron Jones is open and got it. Loses it, saves it in. Aaron's going to call him out of bounds. We're going the other way to Lone Peak. 6.5 remaining. They'll get it into Jackson with 6.5. Only needs a 2. Jackson for the win. Too long. Rebound to Anderson. And we got a foul on the rebound. Doesn't matter. That's the ball game. Riverton beats Lone Peak. Pandemonium at Riverton. What a ball game with Riverton and Lone Peak. A playoff atmosphere. We said it in the broadcast. Region 4 is the best basketball region in the state. And it showed it tonight. Riverton with the playoff on the line. They knock off Lone Peak. Lone Peak, depending on what happened with American Fork, will be tied for the number 1 seed. Riverton, depending on what happens with Harriman, is in the playoffs. But they did their job. And again, our final score, Riverton 72, Lone Peak 71 in overtime. Stay tuned for our post-game wrap-up and our Nudge Player of the Game selection. And welcome back into Riverton. Pandemonium here for the Silverwolves with a big 72-71 win over Lone Peak. And we're still waiting to find out what happened with Harriman, but it looks like right now they've put themselves in position to get into the state tournament. If Harriman wins, there'll be a play-in game for the final seed into the state tournament. For Lone Peak, this loss ends up really not affecting anything going into the state tournament other than confidence, as American Fork was upset by Westlake tonight. So Lone Peak will take the Region 4 number 1 seed heading into the state tournament. And that's a big thing for Coach Quincy Lewis and the Knights to really hang their hat on, as every team is gunning for Lone Peak, and their own region has played very well. They're not daunted, and tonight was a big key and part of that. In this game, opportunity after opportunity went by the wayside for Riverton. They were up by 7 in the third quarter. Lone Peak stormed back, took the lead by the end of the third, going into the fourth quarter. And in the fourth quarter, he had a big play where Andrews got a steal, misses the layup, a follow-up was missed, and it seemed like everything was going to go to the way of Lone Peak. But then Jeff Ahrens, our nudge player of the game, stepped up and made big threes, big shots in big moments. And he had 23 points on the night, played outstanding. Jaron Jones was outstanding as well. But really, it was Jeff Ahrens hitting big shots and a big game for him. Congratulations to Coach Skylar Wilson and the Silverwolves getting the big win and putting themselves in position to get in the state tournament. I think they can make some noise if they get there. Again, our final score, Riverton 72, Lone Peak 71 in overtime. Our nudge player of the game, Jeff Ahrens, with over 500 employees. Nudge, one of the fastest growing companies in Utah Valley. To learn more about Nudge and their community outreach programs, go to www.nudge.com. Again, congratulations to the Silverwolves on the big win. And for Lone Peak, we'll see them in the state tournament. For Vince Francis, I'm Dusty Lister. Thanks for joining us and watching High School Rewind, only on Xfinity On Demand.